Hello and welcome to our program Violence Free World. My name is Kali Ikpe and we continue our quest for peace for motherland Nigeria. Well, I have a special guest in the house today on the program, Professor Chris Nwaokobia. Almost I say Chukwudumebi, just so you know I know all of the names here.
That's correct.
Well, this is Violence Free World. I will get more of the questions coming up, but after this special report, be here, don't go away. The raging spate of violence in Nigeria has continued to defy all forms of approach at resolving it. Virtually all parts of Nigeria face this challenge, which ranges from banditry in the northwest, kidnapping on our highways, the IPOB menace in the southeast, killer headsmen in the southwest and the middle belt, to insurgency in the northeast. Particularly, the new trend of hostage taking for huge ransom, mostly borne by the government, has become rather too often and smacks of complicity from very high quarters.
We also have situations where children are kidnapped at different level and at different intervals, and what happens at the end of the day is that we take money to go and beg them to release our children to us. So if you are now on a negotiation table, who determines the pace of where the pendulum swings to? Now if you look at all this, the question is, who is having upper hand as at now? Can we conveniently, boldly, truthfully say that our security is having an upper hand?
Public outcry against this trend has dominated national discourse, with some sectors resorting to self-help by way of vigilante groups, like in the case of Amotekun in the southwest and JTF in the north, a measure that is more or less official by now. The attendant fear and anxiety have brought about a rhetoric of fury as people trade accusations and counter-accusation as to who is responsible for the dastardly acts.
We have avalanche of laws in this country that criminalizes terrorism. We have avalanche of laws in this country that criminalizes kidnapping, abduction, and the like. Now, all these laws have not been put to place against any one of these people. To the best of my knowledge, look at the number of those that were arrested, and after arrest, they will be handed over to their governors as repentant terrorists. This is the only country in the whole world that have had that people will kill villagers, turn children to orphan overnight, sack a whole village, destroy properties that are worth millions of naira, destroy the economy of a state, and at the end of the day, the state itself, the security agencies will hand them over to their governors, and they will be received with high level of puppetry and then joy and all those stuff like that.
Ethnic and religious profiling have regrettably featured too prominently in the blame game, and it is only serving to exacerbate the already bad situation.
Yes. I feel terrible when Nigerians, the average Nigerian, sees crime and criminality within a narrow prison of tribe or religion. It's in vogue now world over that Muslims are really the culprits. Xenophobia. Muslims are seen as terrorists because terrorism is a multi-billion-dollar industry all over. And Muslims, unfortunately, have where it takes because mainly the oil wells are with the Muslim countries. It's all about that.
Dialogue, it is record, holds a potential to ultimately resolve the spate of violence and consolidate our effort at national integration. But just how can we aggregate our opinions to make the dialogue measure work as we seek a violence-free Nigeria? Welcome back, Professor Chris Nwaokobia. Now, are you one of the persons who believe that Nigeria is on the precipice on the account of the insecurity as we're presently experiencing today?
Let me say clearly, first, Kali, Happy New Year. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.
And let me say clearly, and very strongly so, that yes, the essence of governance is about protection of lives and property. Security is at the core of nationhood. But interestingly, I believe that things can work better. And so I say the cup as half full, not as half empty. I am not one of those who think that Nigeria is at the precipice. I'm one of those who, like the sage Obafemi Awolowo would say, that hope is the last milk in the human breast. I believe that things can get better. And then my mentor, one of my mentors, Madiba Nelson Mandela, once said that the time is always right to do right, and it's never late to have things done better. So I believe that part of what we're doing here is to nudge and urge government to do what is right, proper, and right. I think that Mr. President can do better. I think that things can be better handled. I think that the security architecture can be more enforced and better positioned to do better than they are presently doing. And I also believe that together with the masses of our country, because matters of insecurity is not necessarily only about leadership. Those who man our security will depend on information from the people from time to time. So I think that the time has come for us to not only challenge leadership to do what is proper, we also must take the responsibility, because those who dish villainy, those who dish violence, those who dish banditry, terrorism, and conflict live amongst people. They're not ghosts. They're not viruses that you need an electron microscope to see. And so, so long as they are humans and physical, there are people who interact with them. The time has come for all of us to realize that the primacy of lives and properties and the security of the human persona is of primacy, and we must do that which is right.
We're going forward now. Arguably, one of the most talked about things now is people's intention, people's quest to take over the plum job, the job of the man at the center, Muhammadu Buhari, whose pedigree as a soldier, as a retired general, or as even as a servant general while he served, and then his no-nonsense stance has not been able to get us out of the wood. Or is it a situation of things had gone terribly too bad that the situation is so today?
Let me say clearly that as a general, I would expect that Mr. President would handle things better. As a seasoned soldier, I'd expect that before now he would have hemmed in the bandits and the villains and the terrorists, if you like. But we must be careful about how we assess these issues, because terrorism, banditry, this kind of conflict has been with us for well over a decade before he became president. And so we should cut him a bit of slack.
Did it get worse with him?
I'd say that it's gotten a bit worse, because hunger, poverty, disease, despondency, and decay has gotten worse, because there is poverty in the land, and the greatest recruit, if you like, or recruiting mechanism for bandits, villains, terrorists is hunger, unemployment, joblessness, poverty. And for as long as you have that, for as long as our country has overtaken most of the countries in the poverty mark, you will have an army of young people, young women and young men who are getting enlisted in criminality and banditry. So that's one of the greatest challenges we have. Our nation must rise up and mobilize its citizenry against poverty. Governance must take responsibility and do that which is proper, needful, and right. And I think that the time has come for our dear president to relate galvanize, mobilize, and work with the private sector to dealing with the issues of unemployment, dealing with issues of hunger, and dealing with issues of poverty.
Going forward, now on the issue of the politics of terrorism, why, in your opinion, do you think it took the federal government this long to designate bandits as terrorists? In any case, who has it hurt that they are now designated terrorists? And now that they are terrorists, what is the difference? What difference does it make?
Kelly, I like that choice of word, the politics of terrorism. Sometimes you actually weave your words and you weave them nicely and deeply. But interestingly, let me say that when you live in a country with multifarious tendencies, a country whose historicity is checkered, a country whose tendencies are caught between the ethnic divides and religious divides, a country whose plurality goes to tendencies and emotions that are almost very deeply entrenched, where if you take certain steps, the Igbo man might say that you are against the Igbo. If you take certain steps, the Yoruba man might say that you are outrightly against the Yorubas. And if you take certain steps, the Fulani or the Hausas will say that you're anti-Hausa Fulani interest. Then you have a big problem. You must have a major, large heart, a sizably broad approach to issues. And that's perhaps why that choice of a word, politics of terrorism, may be apt. But let me say here that the man who is the deepest bruised by the terror in this country and banditry across our space is the person of Mr. President, because the buck stops at his decks. And that's where my heart goes out to him. Interestingly, it is better late than never that the government have decided to, in tandem with the resolution and the judgment or the proclamation of a court of law, to declare the bandits terrorists. It's apt, better late than never. The time, like I said initially about my mentor, Madiba, Nelson Mandela, the time is always right to do right. And that's where we are. Now they have been declared terrorists. Now, interestingly, their access to funds will be curtailed. That's the chief benefit of declaring the bandits and the villains terrorists. Now, the international community is able to track and trace funds that accrue to them. Every bank account that receives money, as it were, that perhaps is meant for terrorism or is meant to fund banditry, will get a red flag, and the government is able, through the banks and the financial institutions, to halt access to funds for them. And then some of these special weapons, like the Tucano and heavy weapons, will be able, government will be able to deploy them, because terrorism is a fatal normative in criminality. Terrorism is as wicked as war. Terrorism is as wicked as mass murder. So governments are allowed to descend on terrorists with maximum force. So point number one, declaring them terrorists would give government access to monitoring every account, every funds and inflows that accrue to them or that goes that way. And then government is able to maximally deal with them. I think that, like I said, who cries or bemoans an action that has been taken? It's salutary to note that the government has finally decided to do that. And we would salute that effort. And we hope that with that, terrorism will be nipped on the bud. With that, the bandits and the terrorists who traumatize and tyrannize our space will be dealt with.
Talking about your faith in the system, so much more you need to tell me about. That will be after we return from this break. This is Violence Free World. I've been speaking with Professor Chris Nwaokobia. We're going to come right back and continue with the conversation. If you'll be here, please be here. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is Violence Free World. Prof, now, we were talking about your faith in the country. I recall at some point you had attempted to become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You actually went out there and said, what's this guy up to? And then, well, now what suddenly happened? I'd say you're not even talking about that now. At least everybody who wants to become president somehow are indicating either directly or indirectly. But we see you more with the young man, Governor Bello. Is it something that, even though he hasn't told us to whether he is going to be president, he wants to be president or not yet, but the signs are all there. But is this a thing of you sacrificing your ambition for his, or what? What's going on, please tell us.
Kali, at the age of 40, just a few weeks to 40, I threw my hat in the ring in 2011 to run for the high office of president. Because of my passion and commitment for a great country, I've always believed in Nigeria, and I will believe in Nigeria until I die. I am confident that if we're able to galvanize the masses of our people, particularly our youths, we can take our country away from decay to promise. And then regarding why I haven't declared again for the office of president after, I tried to do that again in 2015, but Khalid, you know, it takes a whole lot to run for the high office of president.
Money?
In 2011, just to print posters alone, it cost over 300 million to circulate posters across the country. And Khalid, if I make you laugh, up till now, 2011 is well over a decade. Up till now, I still haven't recovered from the funds, the economic punch that I got attempting to be president in 2011. So it's a man who goes to war that thinking man who goes to war must first count the cost. So I sat back and I said to myself, you don't have that kind of resources no more. But Nigeria must move. Nigerians must experience the best of democracy. And I looked round. I found in the Nigerian political space a young man who believes in Nigeria like I do. I looked round. I found a young man who thinks about Nigeria like I do. I looked round and I found a young man who's able to engage in debates and dialogue with a broad spectrum of thought, if you like. He is neither discriminatory along the lines of ethnicity or religion. Kali, you're aware he is the first governor in the history of Kogi State, being a Muslim, to build a chapel in the Kogi State government house. Kali, you're aware that he's been able to deal with security in Kogi State. Kogi before him had an ED factory for Boko Haram. Today, Kogi is the safest in the north and second safest state in Nigeria. The young man has said that he believes that with Nigeria is his unalterable commitment and destiny. And so, Kali, I looked at it. He's in a better position in terms of material wherewithal to fulfill my dreams. And what is right all over the world is the ability to, if you like, support an idea that tallies with yours. I am sold out to the Yaya Bello candidacy. And if you want to know, he may not have said publicly that he's running, but he's running. If you want to know, in a few days or weeks, you will hear him publicly declare his intention to run for 2023. And interestingly, Kali, the Yaya Bello movement is about the most potent, most fervent, and most effective across our nation today, because young people are able to connect with his aspiration. That's why you have the word youthocracy. That's why you have the word youth o'clock. That is why you have a lot of young people who are saying never ever again. That's why you're seeing a lot of young people who are saying one youth to another youth. We must support the fervency for a new deal and a new thinking in our country. And so if you use the word, have you sacrificed, like your question said, your vision or ambition for his? I'd rather say I am supporting that vision because it tallies with my aspiration. And I am sold out to his candidacy because when he becomes a president, he's a president we can call out. He's a president that the young people can hold to task. And so I think that he holds out a promise for a new Nigeria and a better deal for the masses of our people.
Well, Prof, as we went down, let's, even in my private discourse with you, I don't recall ever raising this issue of open grazing. I don't know how we missed saying that. Do you think the anti-open grazing laws, that's an issue I'd like you to speak to? And the next is the incendiary remarks from people, something I'll choose to refer to as rhetoric of fury. How is this helping our national unity question?
Let me say clearly, and very emotionally so, and passionately if you like, that in the 21st century, the question about open grazing is like trying to wake up a dead horse. It's atavistic and shibboleth. And I say this advisedly. Why in the 21st century would we, instead of having centers where you ranch and take good care of cattle and make them grow well and make them give you enough meat and enough feeds, why do we have to antagonize efforts that tries to compel those who are into animal husbandry to ranch? Who in his sane mind will canvass nomadic cattle farming? I think that the time has come for us to side with those who are saying no more to open grazing. It is against the 21st century reality. Let me even make you laugh, Kali. In 1968, 1969, long before I was born, the courts of law in this country declared open grazing atavistic, illegal, and shibboleth. I don't know why in the 21st century we're still held up to old norms. I think that the time has come for us to remove it from the confines of ethnicity and religion and speak to our brother the Fulani, speak to our brother the Hausa, and then you know that there are a few Igbos who also rear cattle. Speak to all of them. The time has come for us to ranch, to have colonies where we grow cattle, and ensure that not only is the synergy between farmers and animal husbands effective. You know, Kali, let me make you laugh. The crisis in Rwanda was simply about such normative. But when, after the genocide, and I pray we don't get to that point, they were able to realize that the Tutsis and the Hutus are one and the same people, and that they should be able to have a synergy. Kali, I'll give you an instance, that if you were to have farmers who have the right to their farms, and you have animal farmers who have ranches, they're able to have a symbiotic relationship. You take your weeds to the ranches or the cattle colonies, and they're able to fend for themselves. You have better yields in terms of agriculture, both plant and animals. I think that the time has come for us to raise the debate that makes ranching and cattle colonies the way to go rather than open grazing. And then, interestingly also, I think that the time has come for our country, and this is very important, for us to understand that whether you be Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Efik, Ibibio, Jokun, Tiv, whatever your tendencies are, we are one members of the human pilgrimage. Our tribe is the human tribe. Whether leadership has not been able to coalesce our humanity and effectively deploy it for progress is a challenge. but I think we can do better. I think that the time to speak to each other and have a handshake across our tendencies is now. No matter how we differ, the truth is that the melanin that cuts across us, the blood, is indiscriminate of religion or ethnicity. We're one people under God. I do also believe that if we work together and swim through the waters of justice, equity, and fairness, if we open the waters of love over hate, if we galvanize our collective abilities and tendencies for progress, we shall have a country that sooner rather than later we'll be proud of.
Well, Professor Chris Nwaokobia, I think that's a very good place to leave it. You almost, or rather you preempted the end bit of the stuff, and you did it very well, so succinctly put. I'd like to thank you at this point.
A pleasure is mine, colleague.
Time to oblige me.
A pleasure is mine, colleague.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless Nigeria.
Hi. Well, this is With Violence Free World. My name is Kali Ikpe. Same time next week promises more if you endeavor to be here. Until then, please remember to remain on the road to a violence-free Nigeria. And thank you for watching.
No